Mr. White.
Fluke.
The view's not as good as last time.
I reckon, it's going to be hard to beat that $1 million view though. I know you're running it on your Twitter banner, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks good.
It's the best photo of me that exists.
But the view out there though, in the main hall, like, that's looking good.
Is this the first premiere event that sold out like this?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a sellout.
It's usually packed, but not. Oh, you can't buy tickets anymore.
Yeah. No, this was like legit sold out.
Congratulations.
People were turned away. Yeah, thank you.
You and the team. I mean,
Yeah.
I mentioned to you outside, keep hitting out of the park. The rarities. Ian from Fab Unsealed.
Midas touched that guy.
You guys send us 12 cases. He gets 4 gold packs, I think.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Tell me these gold packs, since I don't have a question for this, but I'm now very curious.
Yeah.
And people are curious. What's the rarity? Is there only one card? And I think there's rumors that maybe, because something on the back of the pack says it's not a guaranteed.
Yeah.
So tell us about the gold packs.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's pretty exciting, eh? Like, the whole part of the Mistveil thing is like all the secrets that are hiding underneath the Mistveil of Mysteria. It is a land of mystery and secrets. So we wanted to put something to this product that sort of like really keyed into that, some like hidden things that, you know, we like to slow roll stuff as well, but you know, I was so happy, and I'm grateful as well that you were able to facilitate that box break, you know, the 4-way box break from Tokyo Fab. And you know, as you saw, we had those cases stacked up because we were going to make sure you guys kept opening it until you found one of those gold packs. But they are pretty rare. They appear around 1 in 20 displays, so about 1 in 5 cases, you know, on average to get a gold pack. But inside the gold packs, you are supposed to, and again, it's not guaranteed, which is why I put this up on the packs, but you are supposed to get the 2 spectral shields, and they come in a range of different colors. So a spectral shield on the front and on the back, protecting the card in the middle, which is the Enigma New Moon. So the Rainbow Foil Enigma New Moon is available in the localized languages. So, you know, if you're buying a French display and you manage to get the gold pack and you get the Rainbow Foil New Moon, it should be in French language. But there is the Marvel New Moons as well, and they are only available in English across all the
same art, but the
so it's like a typical hero Marvel, you know, cold foil, the double-sided.
Not to be confused with the Japanese alt art.
Not to be confused with that. That's something extra again. That's only available in the Japanese print of.
I think someone just pulled one.
Yeah, but the gold pack, the Marvel New Moon cold foil exists, but there is only 100 in the entire world. So
let's compare that backwards to like Emperor.
Yeah.
Much rarer than Emperor.
I believe he's this card is much rarer than the Emperor even.
I better get cracking.
Yeah. So if you do find one of those cold foil New Moons, that is something to really covet and
do not sell it cheap.
Treasure. But again, it's only available in English, so no matter what language version of Part of the Mistveil.
There's 100 split over the print.
100 split, so they're proportional to the size of each of the language print runs. So yeah, every language has a chance of finding that Marvel New Moon, but man, it's a beauty.
I bet.
Yeah, and that's the last secret from Part of the Mistveil, as I alluded to.
That's what hasn't been seen yet.
That Twitter post earlier, that is the one secret left to discover. So you heard it here first on Fluke and Box, the Delver of Secrets, Mr. John Warden.
Thanks for sitting down with me again.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love our chats. I've got obviously a bunch of fan questions, also my own. I think the number one thing which you're probably expecting is PvE and the All Arcane set, I think in that order with like the most asked. So I'm going to summarize them and ask it first. Give us an update on PvE.
Well, there is no update. The last time we spoke, I said that like at the earliest it was going to be back end of next year. So there is no movement on that. And just our priority is on creating the suite of products that you see at the moment, which is you know, making sure that every standalone booster set is draftable, getting these additional products out like the Armory decks to support, you know, access to play, getting these new decks, the First Strike decks coming out in August, which is the product that we have made specifically for your first play experience. So a really tailored, you know, new player onboarding journey experience, and they'll be debuting at Gen Con. We'll be actually announcing those those decks very, very shortly, the heroes in them, and they are brand new heroes as well, so there'll be something exciting. And there is, just some other products that you'll see coming out early next year, which are new, innovative, and offer different kinds of play experiences than you've seen so far. So a lot to look forward to. None of them are PvE, and I acknowledge that, and I know there's a lot of anticipation for it, and we will eventually get there, but it is a good ways off yet.
I'm going to ask you a question worded a different way. Old school Blizzard, the game company, used to be notorious for making the best games in the world, but they were never like, they'd say, hey, 2008 games coming out. It was always years into it. Is this a case of it is coming, wait till we get it right, or is it we're working on it, but it may not come if it doesn't line up?
So for a start, I never said that this was ever coming out on a specific date, and the whole PvE thing started by like a Pro Tour Q&A panel where someone was asking about, have we ever thought about PvE or whatever, and I was like, the answer is yes, we've always been thinking about PvE. But it was never like, oh, hey guys, here's a product announcement that PvE is coming out on X. It was always we're working on this and we'd love to make it, and we know that a lot of people want to see this happen, and we think it could be a really cool thing. At the end of the day, like, if it was just not fun and not a good product, we would never publish it, but I know that it will be a good product, but it is about getting it right. Yeah.
All Arcane set, is that on the track for this year?
Oh, it's in the pipeline, mate. Just hold tight, but it's coming soon. Yeah.
That new Blaze promo got people speculating.
Look, we just put out things like the Arcane Barrier Evo set for Tekla Vossen, or Mex in general can blow with it, but
I needed that for my UPF deck.
So we're like putting some things out there to lay some frameworks for Arcane incoming.
I'll touch on what you said before. New heroes coming out in different products.
Yep.
They're usually not legally playable off the bat if you couldn't open one in a pack. Is the goal, like there's cards like Yorick out there, but is the goal that most of these heroes will be playable? These are just the early promo versions?
So the Blaze is a young hero for a start, so it's only legal on Blitz, and we just have a little bit of a looser approach to Blitz, if I'm being honest with you. It's people probably notice there haven't been any Blitz callings, or hasn't been a World Championship format last year, and probably it won't be a format at the World Championship this year either. And I think that Blitz has sort of settled into a position of being a bit more casually or socially orientated. That's not to say we won't do things with Blitz in the future. Like, we would like to bring it back into some high level opportunities. I know people have very fond memories of like the Team Blitz events that ran across the world. We did the world premiere weekends back alongside Uprising, which were really popular. We did the team actually in Sydney, didn't we? We did the Team Blitz as well. So we know that people enjoy teams, but saying that, I think the teams part of that is probably more important than the Blitz part of that. But I guess my point is that Blitz is its place in our ecosystem has evolved slightly from what it was a couple of years back. So in saying that, I think that making things like a convention exclusive promo, which is Blitz, legal, is like acceptable.
Is it Blitz legal?
Yeah, it is Blitz legal, awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, but there will be other ways to pick up the Blaze promos. I don't think it's been announced yet, but that card will feature as part of the upcoming skirmish season. So that'll be another way for people to, all across the world, to be able to get hold of a Blaze promo, or a Blaze promo that aren't able to make it to these conventions.
Perfect.
Yeah.
My personal opinion of Heavy Hitters was that it was your most successful set. I played it Tales of Aria onwards, so I didn't see Monarch.
Yeah.
Is that actually true?
Or it depends what metric we're defining.
Just my feeling of the hype.
Well, I think, from player sentiment, it's been incredibly successful, and we're very pleased with Heavy Hitters. It's a number of heroes have been really competitive. Obviously KO is kind of the flavour of the month and winning a lot. Although he seems to win a lot more at the in-store level than he does at the Premier level. He does well, he makes top 8 to the Premier level, which is awesome. But once you get up into that pro player echelon, there is strategies that are preying on him and keeping him in check, which is great to see. Obviously, Victor Goldman has been an incredible hero. He's found immense success in Blitz actually, but he's been a really top contender in Classic Constructed as well. And a lot of big name and big teams have got on the Victor train. And Kassai's picked up a number of wins. She won the Calling Los Angeles. She's been quite a successful hero as well. So we're really pleased that there's been this mix of actually like competitively viable, successful heroes coming out heavy hitters, but also it's been very popular for more casual players as well, just being like a really fun vibe. The limited format was really fun, both sealed deck and draft. So I think it ticked a lot of boxes of what you could define success as: fun, actually adding something to the tournament environment and experience. Having some cards in there which people are like really happy to own and chase down. The legendaries in particular, I think, have landed really well, and there's a few Majestics that have been like real, like cards you're really happy to open. The Blade Flurries and so on. Yeah. So all around, I would say that it is a really successful set.
Great design, because it came in. It's not actually better than Skullcap and Crown if you had to like give the card a grade. But into certain heroes, which happen to be in the meta, any hero playing Art of War, any hero that draws, suddenly gets much better.
Yeah, Blood Rush Bellows,
but you can. I think it's very obvious that will not always be the case. That card will come and go.
Yeah. Sometimes Crown of Providence is better, and you see decks that run both of them. Yeah.
We're in Japan, obviously, which has been a long-awaited thing. I spoke to Chris when we were doing the unboxing. He popped into the store, and he said, like, it's been a year at least in the planning. There's a lot of fans on X and other platforms asking about, and the loudest are South Korea and South America. Any update on those two? Is there anything in the pipeline for like localized release or larger events turning up there?
Yeah, I mean, our focus has been on Japan, and then other new market expansions will, they're sort of like scheduled on that roadmap. But we're always just mindful about not overextending ourselves and just being aware of sort of our bandwidth and capacity. So Japan's been a huge project for us, as you mentioned. It's been over a year's worth of work to get to today, and we have just immense passion coming out of South America, Latin America in particular. So we do want to be able to do more for that part of the world as well, and some incredible communities already existing there, particularly in Brazil, which, it is a supporter market for us already, and they have battle hardens and national championships and things like that.
Yes.
But expanding that official presence further across Latin America, and just bringing more events to that part of the world. South Korea is like a very new market. I think we only ran the welcome events there maybe 6 weeks ago, something like that, and all those welcome events sold out. So really good start in South Korea, and being in this part of the world, we do have our representatives from South Korea, distribution partners from South Korea who've come over to Tokyo to meet with us and talk about what those next steps are to better support Flesh and Blood in South Korea as well.
I imagine it's primarily English there too, right?
There's only an English language product there at the moment, and it's the plan for the time being.
Is Adult Shiana coming?
I don't know. Maybe. She's not on the pipeline, but it's possible. She's part of the ongoing story arc, right? Like as we went through all of that Uprising story arc and into Dynasty, she was quite a central figure in acting as that envoy that went to Volcor on behalf of Solana and bringing back the bad news to the Magisters. So. She does play a central role in the story arc of what's going on with Solana, and it's very possible that we do more with that character in a future set. She's not in any of the upcoming products, so I can tell you. So it would be at least probably 2 years out before we would see an adult Shiana.
He said at least 2 years, guys. He didn't say 2 years. Speaking of story, I'm not actually. I'm a cutscene skipper gamer. I don't get into the lore. I'm character driven, but I like the action more than the story.
Fair enough.
But I'm not. I think Fab, a lot of people are very story oriented. There's some people feel there's a lack of lore lately for the last set.
There has been.
Can you shed light on that?
Yeah, it's just a people thing. Edwin, McRae and Rachel, who were writing lore over the last about more than a year, I think, year and a half. They're a New Zealand-based couple, and were providing freelance services to us. they are professional writers, and they're fantastic to work with. Very, very supportive, very talented couple who are working on a lot of that storytelling, and just things happen in their life. Just life happens, and they needed to do other things with their time and with their career, and so they moved on from doing that for us, and it sort of left a little bit of a hole that we have been seeking to fill. And just there's always trade-offs. Like we really care about storytelling. We want to tell more of the lore, more of the story, but we just got to get the right people into the mix to be able to deliver on that storytelling. I do believe that there will be a good amount of lore coming through for Part of the Mistveil, and I do hope at some point we can catch up on this gap which people have rightfully pointed out, which existed around the Heavy Hitters release. And there's something in mind that I hope we can deliver on that just bridges that gap a little bit coming up pretty soon. But I'm pretty sure that there's some good storytelling ready to publish around the Part of the Mistveil heroes.
Beautiful. I want to talk about content for a bit. I know your lovely wife, you consume content. I know you'll message me saying, hey, I saw his stream. I know you watch a lot of content.
She watches more than I do. I'm busy making Flesh and Blood, but I watch a lot of it.
I'll rephrase that differently.
Sometimes.
For a game creator, CEO, co-founder, you watch a lot of content. Like, I think there's a lot of companies where the CEO wouldn't know a single content creator for their game, maybe only the top couple. You're very much more involved in that. Can you shed some light on like some of your favorites, especially up-and-coming ones, maybe something recent? I just wanted to shed some light on some content creators that you watch or consume their content.
Yeah. I mean, probably, I mean, like, there's just so many good content creators out there. I don't really want to particularly call out names. Like just all the usual suspects, I do like a good market watch video though, if I'm being honest.
Stacks
I've called them out before on your channel, but just.
You're not the only one. He posts a video, it's got 2,000 views in a couple of hours. Everyone that wants to watch.
What's up, gamers? Just the Stacks is back.
Stacks will come.
Get your hot tips. Like,
I know you did actually, I don't know if you directly, but did some work with 3 Floating, actual work with them.
So I mean, I think it's really important to acknowledge that there's different kinds of content creators, right? And I think that that's like a really important thing, and it's a great sign of the evolution of Flesh and Blood as a community and as a global game. Is like you got your your market watch style content creators like your Staxes, and then you got like your more entertainment focused content creators like your 3 Floatings, which are absolutely freaking incredible. I feel so grateful for having those guys. Aiden, Sam, and Jacob just getting behind the game and creating these like highly produced, entertaining pieces of content. So thank you very much, 3 Floating team. I love you guys. And then we get people like yourself, just like doing the box breaks. It's just like critical for people to understand the composition of products, and it's good entertainment as well. And I think you chip in quite a good amount on sort of like market dynamics and stuff like that as well. You get your Fable hunters really keying into that like uber collectability aspects. As well as showcasing like the play the game, see the world stuff. They're always like dialing in from all different places of the world, which is like super cool to see. But yeah, I do feel very blessed to see the broader ecosystem of content evolve. And like your Mac DeMarco's and your Instant Speak podcast, right? Like just the sort of like cutting edge current affairs style. Get out there and interview the key people in the industry, and shedding a lot of light and building profiles around a lot of people who are contributing in different ways as well, which is fantastic. And your Arsenal passers who are like kind of looking at the game through that more like pro player lens. So yeah, I think just we're lucky to have so many different lenses looking at the game from a content perspective, and I am grateful for everyone's contribution, whether they're big or small. And I hope that the content creators out there can keep in the loop with our team at LSS, with our marketing team, and be part of different promotions and campaigns and stuff that come out. Like I know we have another content creator appreciation kit shipping soon. I think it might be Q3, which just a little way of us for acknowledging the effort that people put in Because there's just so many to name, and there's just so many to name. The Red Zone Rogues, the DM Armadas, there's just too many.
I noticed there's a lot more Japanese ones than I would have thought.
Yeah, go on Twitter. There's more.
Yes.
There's more Japanese posts on Twitter about Flesh and Blood than English. It's incredible.
We got to meet Saito, who is the owner of Tokyo Fab.
Yep.
You guys would have seen him on the stream if you watched the official channel Box Break stream. He's way funnier than I am when he opens boxes. He was yelling out countries and.
Oh yeah.
Talking about content, I noticed the Flesh and Blood channel has had massive growth recently. A lot of new content popping up on there, especially the dev talk. I think I think in today's culture, having that direct content with the company making the game, with the people that make it, and seeing that they're passionate, even if you don't agree with their opinions, that dialogue is very cool to see.
Yeah.
Was that something you played a part in, like setting up or wanting that content? Is that Alex driving it? How did that come to be?
Yeah, so we have an incredible marketing team which has built up over the last year or so, and it's headed up by a gentleman called Matt Monk. He's our head of marketing. Just a phenomenal guy. Just so much respect for him, and he's brought a lot of amazing leadership to that team and driven a lot of initiatives. He comes from outside the TCG industry. Actually, he's a massive comic book fan. And just like general geekdom, pop culture, that sort of stuff. Since he's joined us, he plays a lot of Flesh and Blood as well. I always see him in the common area, or whatever cafeteria, like jamming games with Blitz decks, as most of the staff do at LSS. But Matt's brought a lot of experience in marketing and driving campaigns and things like that, and he's been able to work with amazing folks like Alex, who takes care of all of the video content that we produce these days, and the incredible trailers, and still does a lot with the content creators as well. So it's for me personally, I'm very pleased to see these sorts of pieces of content coming through and getting our devs on camera speaking about their view of the game and their how they see the game. I think that it was a very good step, and it just makes sense. It's a bit of a no-brainer, really. But again, it's about having the right capability and people internally to be able to make these things happen. And also, just from a dev team point of view, like having that stability within that team, that we can just pull people out to go and like do other stuff like content, or sending people like Carol over to calling Warsaw last weekend to go and do coverage and stuff. And like we've got a great dev team now that we can like pull people out to go and do other things from time to time, and the ship just keeps sailing in the right direction on the product development side. But yeah, I think that the dev talks are great. I actually recorded one before I jumped on the plane.
You're in one now?
Yeah.
Good.
So Brian sent me down, and we had a chat about part of the Mistveil. I believe that talk is going up maybe early next week, maybe over the weekend even.
Amazing.
So yeah, that was good. There's more plans for more content as well. The other big thing is we moved into our new studio, so now we actually have like recording spaces set up to do this stuff properly, and we don't have to keep moving stuff around. Like equipment can be set up, and it can just like stay there, instead of our previous place. It was just too small. You'd like set up the cameras, and then you have to like pack them down, and it's just like a waste of time.
Will Armory decks ever be used to introduce completely new heroes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, coming next year.
The map of Rathe that exists now, someone wanted to know if that's completely fleshed out yet, or is this the world of Rathe that we know, or are there areas that are unexplored that we're not aware of?
Well, definitely unexplored is like, if you look on the map to the to the west of the Savage Lands, it's just like undefined bush. It's like forest, and then the edge of the map finishes. So there's definitely something to the west of that region referred to as the Savage Lands, and then all the rest of it it's basically surrounded by water. So what's past the horizon?
So
who
to
knows?
the west of Savage Lands.
Yeah, to the west
what's
of Savage.
What's it called?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you that, mate.
I tried.
And then we got the ethereal, like up top in
Yes.
this alternate dimension. So there's you can go left. You can go pretty much like across the waters to past the horizon. You can go to another dimension. So there's a lot of different places that we can go.
What are your thoughts on fan-made formats I know originally Commoner was fan-made and got sort of adopted, and you can play Commoner at most larger events.
Yep.
Clash as a format, is that something on your radar?
I think that fan-made format is awesome. I think that the community should embrace the game and digest it in ways that they want to. I mean, that's one of the great things about trading card games. It's like it's with these game pieces and do what the hell you like with them. When it comes to the suite of like, official formats, probably don't have any immediate intention to bring others on, but we keep an eye on it. Like if Clash becomes continues to be this thing that has quite a lot of interest and engagement with, it's like we can look at that, and it might be about running it out at a Sunday side event at an upcoming Pro Tour or something like that, and just seeing what the kind of engagement is like and go from there.
I've never played it, but the feedback I've heard, Commoner doesn't seem like a format I want to play because of the lower power level, and it's more fair, I guess, less variance maybe. But the way people have explained Clash to me, that it feels like you're playing Blitz that's fair, where it's not like, it's not weak decks like Commoner, but it's not removing the high power. But I haven't played it, but having it at a big event as a side event is more likely you would jump in. Unless your local group is doing something themselves.
We keep an eye on it.
XP, any update yet on what that may be used for?
Probably not something to share today, but we're mindful of it. We want it to be relevant. I mean, again, I keep calling back to the celebration, right? Like XP was a big pathway to, 3 of the slots that were represented at the celebration. So that's like one example of the sorts of things that we would see XP being applicable for, but there'll be more, But I'll wait for another day. Next interview, maybe you can talk more about that.
Yeah, I'll remember. Non-foil reprints have happened, like White Border Command and Conquers, for instance. Never a Fable to date has been printed in non-foil. It's only Rainbow. Can you elaborate on why that happens, or why it hasn't happened?
Part of it is prestige. I think that the Fables are something which needs to be maintained as something like quite prestigious within the context of what Flesh and Blood is, and to try and keep them quite collectible as well, and a level of scarcity. It's always a fine line with the Fables between them being too scarce and people like needing the card to be able to play competitive tournaments. So we're always mindful about that. It's a fine tightrope that we walk, but we do want them to feel like just special.
I don't know who asked. Sorry guys, by the way, I'm going to apologize. Intermission. I didn't write anyone's name down for the questions. So I apologize.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are. Also, it's going to make people come and watch. Edward or Jacob? I wanted to call this person out. That's why.
Like, what is this even from?
Twilight.
From Twilight. Okay.
Team Edward.
So Edward,
Vampire
Edward,
or werewolf?
No, Edward. Yeah, definitely vampire.
There you go, guys. Now you know.
Definitely.
On that note, what questions would you like people to ask, or what are the questions you like answering when you're met by a fan, or?
No, just whatever. Throw it all at me, as long as it's reasonable.
Some of them were not quite PG. I cut them out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Which dev on your current dev team is the best player?
This question get me into so much trouble, so I'm going to answer it as objectively as I possibly can. Just looking at actual track records, okay? So we have a gentleman called Jacob Pearson. The last big tournament that he played in before he became a dev at LSS was the Calling Auckland, and he won that tournament with Ira Crimson Haze. Then he joined LSS. Since then, he's played in 2 big events, because you can only play in these big events like Battle Harness Up if you have a dispensation from the studio. And when we had that Team Blitz tournament in Sydney, we gave any of the studio staff who wanted to go to that a dispensation to go and compete at that Sydney Calling. But the rules were it had to be 1 LSS employee and 2 community members. That was the requirement. So Jacob teamed up with 2 community members, and he went to Sydney and he won that tournament. Then the next tournament he played was Battle Hardened down at Queenstown at the World Premiere for Heavy Hitters, and he didn't win. I'll say that he didn't win. They made it to the top 4. This was quite a big tournament. So it was like 150 players or something in that team sealed, maybe even more than that. And they did lose in the top 4. And I don't want to throw you under the bus, Jared and Gav, but you two are the ones that lost, and Jacob
He won his round.
he won his seat out of that three-way. So, look, just when you actually look at the facts of these devs who have had opportunities to participate in the public domain prior and since joining LSE, it's like Jacob actually has the numbers. So. All the rest of the devs, I love you and you're awesome, but I'm going with the facts, and my answer is Jacob Pearson.
Wow. I feel like he's also the one dev that maybe didn't need the ego boost, you know?
maybe, yeah.
Well, shout out to
he's a very talented guy, yeah.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, your dev team's insane. Also, personality-wise, they're all amazing guys. They're all friendly, approachable. Next question is talking about Vincent.
Yep.
I think Prism and Vincent sort of came out at the same time. Romantically, it should have been Prism and Chain, but people didn't get Chain. And then it seems like Vincent is lacking
ain't never getting Chain again, I'll tell you.
I think it was the questions coming from a balanced perspective where Prism and Vincent both sort of came out and hit a bit flat. They weren't immediately in the meta winning events. And then Prism got some support, and she seems to be catching some steam while Vincent is lagging. Is that a thing is that real? As in, does Vincent need support, and is that coming?
Well, she needs support. She definitely needs support. And look, yeah, it is coming. You can see in part of the Mistveil, she gets the Eloquent Eulogy, which is a really powerful card, RuneGate 1, the only RuneGate 1 card, and getting to create these Eloquence tokens, they can do some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, look, she's a little bit of a work in progress. I think that I know that she will get there. So the Vincent diehards just need to stick with her, have some patience, have some belief. We intentionally shipped that hero soft though, to be honest. We didn't want another Chain. We didn't want Chain 2.0.
I feel like you did the same with Prism. It was definitely...
Oh no, we definitely didn't. We definitely shipped Prism thinking that she was hot, and I mean, it's been proven since Luminaris Angel's Glow came out that she is one of the decks to beat. She wins big tournaments. And I would just say, just going to put it out there, some of these big tournaments recently have been won by more Iris-leaning...
Yes, hybrids.
Yeah, hybrids. You could have made that deck without Angel's Glow. And that's the kind of decks that's
what you were seeing in the office, basically.
That's what a lot of our devs were playing during Dusk Till Dawn and really rated as being tournament-winning, viable decks. And it just, it seemed like it's taken forever for the world to really pick it up. I'm not saying that we didn't fuck up and make Luminaris good enough in the first go round. Obviously it was a bit soft, and we came out with the Angel's Glow with Heavy Hitters expansion slot, and it's given it the juice for the Herald aggro side of things to punch through and get some wins, so that's good. But yeah, Prism is a hero that we always intended and expected, and provides the support to be a winning hero.
We talked about collectability, gold packs. You obviously, I know you do follow the secondary market, and you guys are aware of what happens. How does that balance play into your design work, designing a set between players and collectors? And if you can touch on promo cards being reprinted now, so you get cards that have existed in all the different rarities getting reprinted as alt art in not rarities, print types. So Rainbow Fall promos that existed, or Cold Fall Epot existed, and now we have another Cold Fall Epot with extended art. I would just want to know what your thoughts are, or the thought processes behind that.
We're always thinking about collectability with our product design, and it's one of the things about part of the Mistveil that makes me very proud of this particular release. It's it's a very holistic view that I take when I consider whether a product is something beautiful or not. And part of the Mistveil has some very innovative game design mechanics and expressions of these, tropes like what an assassin can be, through the lens of a succubus. And with our illusionists, we've been, created this gameplay experience, which I really believe is our best designed illusionist yet. I talk actually quite a bit about this on the podcast that will get published on our official channel, specifically about the new and Enigma from a design point of view. So check that out. It's going to be out in the next couple of days. But the collectability and the way that that's all wrapped around and integrated into the product, it's a huge part in what makes me feel very proud of part of the Mistveil. The fact that we were able to bring in this contemporary vision of classical Japanese art styles, and then create these beautiful borderless marvels, and the double sided, like having that chi on the back, which is like a alternate version of what the common chis look like. And I just think it has so many beautiful cards in part of the Mistveil, which really capture the feeling and the mood and the essence of what Mysteria is as a place. And really, this is the first time we've been to Mysteria, so it's really important to try and capture that culture and that feeling and that vibe.
Was it always, and I'm using air quotes in the background here, was it always Japanese, Mysteria? Like, was it always the plan was this vibe?
So, yes, I wouldn't say it's strictly Japanese. There was more broadly Asian influences, but you could probably say it has like a leaning towards like more Japanese than other Asian influences. Maybe Volcor is more leaning towards like the Chinese sort of Three Kingdoms style Asian influences than other parts of Asia. But yes, like collectability is something that I'm thinking about when I'm designing the product from like the get-go, and it's part of the framework and the modeling that we put into how we can build in these like beautiful scarce pieces that can really satisfy the collector's desire. And I think that we've done really, probably our best ever with part of the Mistveil. I think Uprising is also a candidate for being a really well-produced collectible set, but I think part of the Mistveil takes our learnings from that and takes it to the next level. And then you'll see the products that are coming through, further down the line, the September release in particular, and the May release next year, of having like some really exceptional collectability components to it as well.
And with promos, I know like your reprint policy is quite clear.
Yeah, so I dodged that part of the question, like the Epot one in particular. Like,
by the way, as a fan, because I am a fan aside from making content and I play the game, I own 3 cold full Epots. And they were always quite expensive, but it's something that's also very unique and cool and old.
Yes.
And the Epots, the new ones,
yeah,
there's no way I wasn't going to buy that gorgeous art. Okay. And I also personally felt like when I saw both is that I would put them in very different decks.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I agree.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
There are more purist collectors that maybe want their investment to grow that would see that as you've reprinted my promo. Do you see it that way?
Well, what I see is that we have a call for a reprint policy that we are very, very strictly following, and take it very seriously, that we honour the spirit and intention of that policy. And it's very clear in that policy that promos that we make like Epot are not bound to never be printed again. So I think we've always been very transparent about what we can and can't reprint when it comes to cold foils. Just from a philosophical point of view, I think that there's always going to be some prestige around the original Epot cold foil because it's the OG. It's the OG art. It was something that we released, I think, 2020, so it's very, very old. Well, as old as you can get when it comes to Flesh and Blood, pretty much. Yes. I just think that the new Pro Tour Los Angeles version of Epot, it's beautiful, but it's not the OG. Some people will like it more, some people will like it less. And I think that also Epot is quite a ubiquitous card. It's a card that it'll go on a lot of different decks over a very, very long time. And we've got to, I think it's cool to give other people who have joined the community in more recent times a chance to get beautiful looking things as well. Just as another, I think, example about our attitude and sincerity towards respecting the call for a reprint policy is the promos at Pro Tour Amsterdam, the tulip arcane barrier pieces. Those are rainbow foil, and they're rainbow foil because the cold foil null runes were originally printed in Arcane Rising, and we have made a promise that we will not print those cards again in cold foil.
Because you opened them in a box.
Yeah.
I think that's what people, sorry to interject, but you're saying what I answer to people, for instance, the ones that compared like the art of war. It's like, if here's what I'm saying, as an investor, shop owner, if you want to invest your money in flesh and blood cards and it's not for the art and your love of it, it's for money, be very clear on what you're buying. Promos that were only ever cold foil and promos can be reprinted, so you should be aware of that.
Yeah.
Now, you guys are nice enough to go, we're not reprinting gold foil tunics. That's great that you said that, but according to your policy, you could have made more tunics, gold foil tunics. And as like you said, if null rune exists in cold foil, you're not going to reprint it in cold foil, so null rune cold foil will always be the highest version of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's important to know that when you're collecting for money or investing, is to be very clear on.
Yeah. Like, keep in mind, there are the gold versions of the null runes as well, right? But I mean, we have the collector center that has like literally the number of each of these golds that that exist and how many have been distributed, and what the chances of a drop rate of these gold prize cards are as well. And I think like that's sort of like the black and white line in the sand. Like that's why we're not printing any more gold tunics, is because we've made this promise that it's only going to be however many there were. I think it was 50. I can't remember. I think it was 50. I think it was 50. Like, don't quote me on that. Go and check the actual collector center. But we've said that's the number. It's not ever going to be more than that number.
And it's gone down. Now the calling winning is like 25s. I think there's even less crowns. I think it's 17 crowns.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying, by the way, I'm not saying this to put words in your mouth. Till they announce that there's that number and it's fixed, you guys can print as many as you like. So as a collector, you should be, obviously, you guys seem to be very good on the gold foils, and so collectors are buying them.
Yeah.
But seeing a rainbow foil printed as a cold foil, or seeing a rainbow foil printed as a cold foil promo is not something to be. It's not unexpected. You guys can, and you should where it's. We try to be mindful of the collectability. I mean, in hindsight, the judge packs and the cold foil Art of Wars and stuff, like maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, and we've sort of reflected on that and taken on board a lot of feedback that came back from some of our collector community, and you'll see some changes to the judge packs as we move into the new year from the Q1 judge packs next year. So a bit of a shift up in what the composition of those will be. So and that's very much based on feedback that came through. So. We acknowledge we don't always get it right, and you try and do your best, and sometimes you please a group over here and you piss off someone over here, or a lot of people over here, and you kind of like take the feedback and reconcile it and try and do better next time. Did Path to Mistveil have a different name originally?
So that's a really good question. A lot of our products, like the name that they get printed as was the name of them from the beginning, and it just that name persists all the way through the development cycle and into production. And Path to Mistveil was an interesting one in that it had no name actually until after development had finished and we started to do the sort of like the creative build out. It was always just referred to as MST. And internally, like that was always going to be the set code.
Mistveil,
yeah, it was always just going to be called MST, and that's what anyone ever called it internally was MST, and then I did come up with Path to Mistveil. It was like I guess I kind of have like on my phone I always like just brainstorming stuff and just dumping ideas in there, and so I kind of like had a note with like lots of potential names that it could have been, and Path to Mistveil was one of them. And eventually we got to the point of like, okay, we need to choose a name. These are the short list. What feels right? What can we build? The brand story around, and Path to Mistveil was the one that felt right. Was the right one for the job.
Necromancer and Cleric are missing. Is there plans for those soon? Or can you give a timeline?
There are plans. I'm going to give you no timeline, but there are plans. Necromancer is probably the most requested class, I think, of what's yet to come. So, not taking it lightly. We've got to make sure that we deliver real hot on Necromancer. I ain't giving you time though, but I'll tell you that it's being worked on.
It seems like a deck that plays things out of graveyard. Is that something you can confirm?
Like, it's just if it doesn't have anything to do with playing shit out of graveyard, it ain't a Necromancer.
Well, now you at least know one of the mechanics, guys.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for someone running events and building a company? Something clearly you're seeing some success in.
Advice? Just always strive to do the best that you can for your fan, your customer, your supporter. Just think about how you can make their experience better. Yeah.
You do go to most of the larger Fab events. I wanted you to maybe touch on your itinerary for the next 6-12 months where people can see you at a Fab event.
I can't go into too much detail about it, but I won't be at any events for a little while until World Champs.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
But back in Japan, definitely.
I will definitely be back in Osaka for World Championship in November.
Awesome.
But there's some things that are going to keep me in New Zealand for a little bit. Yep. So that means I won't be in Amsterdam. But we're going to have a strong representation of LSS staff up at Amsterdam, including the amazing Brian Gottlieb. He's going to be running the keynote in my absence. And I mean, shit, after he does it, you guys might not even want me.
First one you miss.
You guys might not even want me back through the keynotes after Brian picks up the mic. That guy is, he's got away with words.
He's great. He's a good leader. You can tell when he's on the dev talks. Yeah.
But a lot of the LSS team will be up in Amsterdam. I won't be one of them.
You've seen a lot of success, going from LSS being a thought, 10 something years ago, and now it's on track to be a 9-figure company. What's one of your largest regrets or missteps, you would say, that you can maybe give a word of warning for other entrepreneurs trying to replicate what you're doing in different industries?
I mean, I always talk about focus. Oftentimes people ask me, well, when are you going to do this, when are you going to do that? And, I often say, well, it's about focusing on doing a few things really, really well. So not trying to, bite off more than you can chew, I guess, and so to speak. One of the things that we bit off more than we could chew was starting with 4 European languages for localization at one time. It was too many to dive into all at once when we didn't have any capabilities for doing localization established at all. And you saw the outcome. The History Pack 1 first batch of localization was not received well. And that was just a misstep in forgetting about the fundamentals of focus. So we should have done one. We should have learned from that and then gone and done additional European languages, maybe one at a time. Or maybe after we'd done one really, really well and learned what we needed to learn, then do a couple or the other 3. But doing 4 at once was dumb.
Yeah, sometimes that's it, isn't it? One country at a time, one product at a time, one
Yep.
hire at a time.
Yep. It's just
it can be tricky when you're growing to remember to slow down or remember to put as much work in.
Yeah.
That's good advice. I only have one question left. It's actually from your wife.
Oh, really? Oh, gee. What's she been up to?
Well, she wanted you to, so the time's yours, you can elaborate as much as you want or not elaborate. She was talking about how you disappear every once in a while.
Yeah.
When you get into your creative focus or you're creating the new sets or looking in the future.
Yeah.
I'd like to know. I think you've given snippets of this. I think there's a story of you at a New Year's Eve party or Christmas party where you were separated from everyone and you came up with fire, I believe, at the time. So maybe you can talk to us about that process, because that's probably more creative than business.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the fire one was New Year's Eve, and it was the aha moment when I realized that cycles were something in Flesh and Blood. That head jab was actually a cycle of 3 cards instead of 3 separate cards. So that was that particular story. But yeah, for me, the creative process is it's a mixture of finding my happy place, like bliss, and also like agony, to be honest. Like it's really tough. You got to there's so much expectation obviously for every product to be awesome, and expectation I put on myself of trying to create something which is beautiful, which is engaging, which is satisfying, which is compelling, which people want to explore and spend hundreds of hours of their life to master and take to tournaments all around the world and really just dedicate a lot of themselves to. So there's a lot of expectations that I put on myself to really strive for excellence, and it is a daunting task. You're starting with a blank piece of paper and you've got to make something out of nothing, and I hold myself to very high standards as well. So I really just push myself very hard to create something that I believe is good enough, something exceptional. But the actual process is it is this combination of trying to create something very flavorful and creative, so it feels right? And it's a very subjective thing. It's making something that feels right, and being able to layer in flavor and delivering on tropes, and at the same, on the other end of the spectrum is creating something which has this very complex integrated network and system of game pieces. And when I'm designing a product, I really need to just not be disturbed. And when I'm in the design tank, typically it takes me between a minimum of 200 hours and normally a more realistic amount of time is 300 hours of just focusing on designing these products. And during that time, I'll just disappear from the studio, and I'll be in this sort of mind state of just focusing on this one thing and being completely immersed in it and consumed by it. And I'll literally work 20 hours a day. I'll just sit down, start working on it, and then it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll fall asleep and I'll get up at 7 and I'll just start again. Well, normally I drop my daughter to school and then I come back and start again, and it just repeats and repeats. And sometimes there's been time. Part of the Mistveil was a great example where it was actually Cece and Monica, my wife and daughter. It was school holidays and they went to Bali actually for a school holiday trip. So I had the house to myself, and so there was no morning school drop off, and there were a number of occasions where I just started working on this thing at 9 o'clock in the morning after going to get some coffee, and then it's work. Oh shit, the sun's coming up. Okay, well I'll just keep working, and then just work through and for another entire day. And it's not because it's I have to, it's because I want to, because you just get into these heightened mental states where the creativity is pouring out. But in addition to that, it's you build these very complex mental mind maps of how all of the different game pieces are connected to each other, and all of these relationships is in some ways, from talking to software developers, it's very similar to sometimes how they're constructing code with mental mind maps. And it's if you remove a game piece here, it has this cascading effect where it affects all of the game pieces that you've built around it. Or if you add a piece on the top, it has this downward cascading impact of affecting all these other integrated pieces that exist in the product. And you've got to hold this mental mind map in your mind while you're designing and building out a new draftable set. This is specifically for draftable sets. And if you get disturbed and it just shatters that mental mind map that you have, it's so fucking hard to rebuild it again. It's really can be demoralizing as well when it's you're in such a heightened state, and then something just comes and shatters it, and then you have to rebuild this mental mind map that you had of how all of this basically complex integrated network of game pieces fit together. So that's why I kind of disappear for periods of time, because I gotta become like completely consumed and immersed into the product that I'm building, so I can build the mental mind map of the game piece integration, and then also like how we're like dressing it up or layering in the flavor and the theme to make it feel right as well. Yeah. So that's the story.
That's the story I wanted.
That's the story. Yeah.
James, thank you.
Yeah.
Again.
You're welcome. Yep. Thank you,
Guys. See you on the next one.
Yep.